In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make the video and audio from your Pixel 8 go from looking and sounding like this to looking and sounding like this. We're filming right now on the Google Pixel 8, and a talking head shot like this is just one of the ways you might use it if it was your only camera for creating YouTube videos. In this video, I'm going to test out whether the Pixel 8 is good enough for a standard YouTube workflow. This is going to involve filming A-roll and B-roll, creating thumbnails, recording a voiceover, transferring files when you've finished filming, and live streaming. In this video, assume everything is filmed on the Pixel 8 unless I state otherwise on screen. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with A-roll and B-roll. Getting a good quality image isn't all about the camera, but it does play a big part. Fortunately, the Pixel 8 can film in 4K at up to 60 frames per second and has some really good built-in stabilization. So this is definitely going to help us. But just how good can we make a talking headshot look and feel with the Pixel 8? Well, let's start at a very basic level and assume that you don't have lights or an external microphone. This is what it looks like filming with natural light and without a dedicated microphone. And you're probably fine with how this looks, but less fine with how it sounds. Now we've added a dedicated wireless microphone system, and this should immediately make this feel higher quality and easier to watch because of the good audio. Next, we've added some dedicated lighting, and now we have our full setup, which could be usable for a lot of people. Just for comparison, this is what the ultrawide camera looks like out of the Pixel 8. I personally think there is a noticeable drop in quality, especially in low light, so I would recommend that you use the Pixel 8's main camera if your filming scenario and your space allows for it. The microphone I'm using here is the Hollyland Lark C1. The lighting setup includes a Zhiyun CX100 video light, a compact 60cm softbox, and a cheap Amazon Basics light stand. With the Pixel 8, assuming you pay full price for this phone at £700 or $700 US, then you can get this entire setup for just over $1,000 US or £1,000. But bear in mind, the Pixel 8 can now be quite frequently picked up for way under that RRP, which means you could likely get this whole setup for way under £1,000. In comparison, this is what the same shot looks like using a dedicated camera to film it. In this case, we're using the Sony ZV-E10 paired with the Sigma 18-50mm f2.8 lens. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you think it's worth the extra roughly £1,000 or $1,200 US to get this camera paired with this lens for your videos. So I'd say that we can achieve some excellent results with the Pixel 8, but we have to consider how difficult it is to get those results. You could use the front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 like we are now, which makes the act of filming yourself a lot easier because you can see yourself and you can check if you're recording. However, it's definitely lower quality than the cameras on the back of the phone, and it's fixed focus, which means you miss out on using the excellent autofocus which is available on both of the back cameras. However, by using the back cameras, although you get better recording quality, it makes it more difficult to actually film yourself for a variety of reasons. Firstly, you can't see the screen to make sure you're framed up correctly or to check that you're recording. And secondly, if you're filming shots that are low to the ground or high above your head, then it's difficult to see the screen because you're unable to tilt it while still keeping your subject in frame. For the first issue, there are a few possible workarounds here. If you have an Android Wear smartwatch like I do with my Samsung Galaxy Watch 4, then you can download the Pixel Camera app from the Play Store, and you can use this to frame up your shots, change settings, and start and stop recording using the watch screen. Alternatively, there are a variety of phone mounts with mirrors on the back of them so that you can actually see what's happening on your phone screen. I've actually figured out a better way to allow you to see yourself, but it's not super simple. Using a software called screencopy, I can wirelessly cast my phone's screen to my MacBook, and I can use my MacBook to control the phone too. Setting this up is fairly complicated though, and requires you to have a laptop or desktop of some kind to make this work, so it might not be a viable option for you if you don't own one of these devices. Apart from not being able to see yourself, you also have very limited control on how your video looks, because you can only manually control a few of the settings on the camera of the Pixel 8. It allows you to set and lock white balance, exposure, and frame rate, but doesn't allow you to change things like aperture or shutter speed. And when you exit the camera app, it resets the white balance and exposure that you had set. You can obviously shoot using auto exposure and auto white balance, but if these change mid-shot, it can be quite distracting for the viewer. I personally like to set these manually and lock the values so that all my shots are consistent. With a dedicated camera like the ZV-E10 on the other hand, the flip out screen, the visible recording indicator lights, the excellent autofocus, and the complete manual control over your settings and picture profiles all make it easier to get the results you're looking for every single time, even if it does require a bit more knowledge about cameras and how they work. Another key thing is how a camera like the ZV-E10 is powered. The ZV-E10 and most other mirrorless cameras have removable batteries, which means that if you run out of power mid-shoot, then you can just swap out the battery and you're good to continue recording. If you run out of battery when you're filming with the Pixel 8, then you're going to need to wait for it to charge before you can start filming again. You could have it plugged in, but then you wouldn't be able to use an external microphone like this one, unless you have one that is connected via Bluetooth instead. So just something else to bear in mind here. But filming is just one part of creating YouTube videos. It also involves creating thumbnails as well. At least in my niche of tech and camera gear, a good thumbnail usually requires a good quality image to be competitive and to stand out. So let's see if we can use the Pixel 8 to create a mock-up of a thumbnail for a video about external storage options for content creators for an upcoming video. I've used my Pixel 8 and my Sony ZV-E10 to try and take a very similar photo to create the same thumbnail. Here are the two thumbnails, A and B. Which one do you think was taken by the Pixel 8? So in this case, thumbnail B is the Pixel 8. Did you guess that right? Let me know down in the comments below. Personally, I think in this case, the Pixel 8's image is nearly identical to the ZV-E10's image. However, there is no depth of field factor in this example, which is often where phone cameras tend to fall down when compared to dedicated mirrorless cameras. So I'm confident that you'll achieve better results with the ZV-E10 in a case where you're looking to achieve a naturally blurry background. For this use case though, the Pixel 8 honestly did a fantastic job. Next, you might have to record a voiceover for your video. This is what it sounds like using the Pixel 8 close to your mouth, as you would if you were recording a voiceover. This could be especially useful if you're on the go and need a voiceover for a video, but haven't got a dedicated microphone to hand. For comparison, here's what it sounds like with a dedicated microphone like the Rode Video Mic Go 2. The next really key part of content creation, which sometimes gets overlooked in videos like this, is the process of transferring your video, photo, and audio files from your Pixel 8 to your computer. In this video, I'm assuming that you have a computer that you're going to be editing on, and you're just using the Pixel 8 as your camera. So I think this is where dedicated cameras have a clear, huge advantage, because I can just take the SD card out of my camera, put it into an SD card reader, and then drag and drop the files from that SD card over to my laptop. This just feels a lot easier than the process of plugging in my Pixel 8, which is incredibly slow if you use the cable that comes with the phone, because you only get USB 2.0 speeds, so speeds up to 60 megabytes per second. If you have a USB 3.2 cable lying around, then this is much faster, but the process of finding the files that you need amongst all of the photos of your family, your friends, and your pets is just a bit of a nightmare. This honestly isn't a great process, but it is doable if you need to do it. For my specific workflow though, I've worked out a much easier way of doing this. I use external SSDs to store and edit my videos from, so I can just simply connect the external SSD directly to my Pixel 8, transfer the files onto the SSD, and then I'm good to go. This method is far less hassle, takes way less time, and is just a lot easier. However, another huge thing to consider here is the amount of storage you have available to you on your Pixel 8, which is only 128 gigabytes if you've got the base model, a lot of which is already taken up by Android software and apps. Whereas with a dedicated camera, you can use an SD card with as much storage on it as you like, and you can swap these out midway through shooting. So I would say that this is definitely another negative for the Pixel 8. If you're a content creator, then you may also be interested in using the Pixel 8 for live streaming. A fairly recently added feature to this phone is the ability to use it as a webcam when it's connected to your computer. This could honestly be an excellent option for anyone who frequently live streams or is looking to start live streaming and wants to add good quality webcam footage to their setup. It's super easy to use, as you just plug it into your computer, go to the USB options on your phone and select webcam, and then you can use your Pixel 8 as a dedicated webcam with access to the ultrawide, the main camera, and the front-facing camera. Google has made this feature really accessible in my opinion, and the quality of the cameras on the Pixel 8 make this a definite positive if you are looking to use the Pixel 8 as your only camera for YouTube. All you'd need is a phone mount, a good microphone, some lighting, and something like this small rig desk clamp stand to give yourself a great live streaming setup. Finally, we've got to consider that the Pixel 8 is a much more convenient option than using a dedicated camera in certain situations. This is the camera that you'll always have with you, that fits in your pocket, and at the end of the day gives you good quality steady footage without requiring you to change a load of settings or use a dedicated stabilization device like a gimbal. It's also very versatile, giving you 3 cameras to choose from. the main camera, the ultra-wide, and the front-facing camera. If you're a content creator that relies on capturing unexpected moments as part of your content, such as vlogging for example, using the Pixel 8 over a dedicated camera means it will always be available to you at the drop of a hat, which could be more valuable to you than getting the highest quality video and audio. So that's several ways that you might use the Pixel 8 if it was your only camera for YouTube. Do you think it's good enough for you? Let me know down in the comments below. The cameras are only one feature of the Pixel 8 as a phone though, and I've created a review of this phone after 6 months of using it every single day, which I'd recommend you check out next. Otherwise, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Cheers.